High-level meet day handling concepts, tracing, deadlift changes, and utilizing lot numbers.
This past weekend, one of my high school lifters, Ben Clark, was in a head-to-head battle for the Wisconsin High School State Championship,
competing in the men's 56 kilo or 123 pound weight class. In the matchup, I used a tactic of what I refer to as tracing.
This is what I consider to be a higher level meet day attempt selection tactic that I've personally used at meets such as IPF Worlds frequently. So let's take a look at what happened going into deadlifts.
Subtotal means your total of your squat and bench going into deadlifts. Looking at the screen here, Ben had a subtotal of 232.5 kilos and his opponent, Gavin, had a subtotal of 235 kilos. Also with this, Ben had a body weight of 54.85 kilos and Gavin had a body weight of 55.85 kilos. So Ben has lower body weight advantage. Now with this also, Ben had a lot number of 232 and Gavin a lot number of 270. If you don't know what lot numbers are, I'll explain all that very soon. With this, Ben had a deadlift opener of 162.5 and Gavin had an opener of 152.5. So what does this mean exactly? This means that even though Gavin is up 2.5 kilos going into deadlifts, because Ben has a deadlift opener 10 kilos higher than Gavin, that means that assuming they hit their first deadlift attempt, their totals will be this. So from a coaching perspective, look at the board that I've placed on the screen here, and what I want you to do is figure out after the first deadlift is completed, and their respective totals are Gavin with 387.5 and Ben with 395, how much is Gavin behind Ben at this point?
A very common answer I would see is 7.5 kilos. Why?
Because if Gavin hits 7.5 kilos more, he'll be at 395 like Ben. However, the right answer is 10 kilos. Although Ben is up 7.5 kilos on Gavin after the first deadlift, Ben has a lower body weight, and assuming there are no chips in play, after the first deadlift, Gavin now needs to make up 10 kilos on his total compared to Ben. Now, this is where the concept of tracing comes in. After Gavin hit his first deadlift attempt of 152.5, he jumps 15 and inputs 167.5. From there, Ben hits his first deadlift attempt at 162.5, and all he needs to do is trace. Given the fact that Ben deadlifts after Gavin, we can see what Gavin inputted for his second deadlift before we actually have to input our second deadlift attempt. With Gavin jumping 15, if he hits, he will be at a 402.5 total. So all Ben has to do is match Gavin's forecasted total of 402.5 with his second deadlift. Given Ben's total after his first deadlift is 395, he just needs plus 7.5 kilos from that to beat 402.5.
Sometimes people say, why does this matter so much? It matters because if both lifters hit their second deadlift, they'll both be at 402.5. And because Ben has a lower body weight, he'll then be ahead. If possible, you want to be in the lead going into your third deadlift. Or more specifically, this means that if Gavin misses his third deadlift, Ben will automatically win. However, things didn't go according to plan.
Gavin hits his second deadlift attempt of 167.5. Now, Ben, after tracing what he needs to be ahead on his second deadlift and jumping 7.5 to 170, was given 2 reds and missed his second deadlift attempt. This now made the scoreboard look like this. So now the advantage has switched from Ben to Gavin. Gavin is now ahead going into deadlift 3. And if Ben misses his third deadlift, Gavin will automatically win. Ben is now in a really tough position where he needs to hit something to push Gavin over the edge, but if he misses, he'll automatically lose. Ben's high school coaching staff inputted 177.5 for his third attempt, in which they had control over submitting attempts over me. After talking with Ben, he told me he wasn't comfortable with 177.5 and thinks 175 is the highest he could confidently do. Gavin also submitted 175 for his third as well.
If you don't know, you can change your third attempt deadlift twice. After Ben told me that, I told his high school coaching staff that he wasn't comfortable with 177.5 and wanted to do 175. The high school coaching staff told me, don't worry about it. We're going to change it from 177.5 to 175 after Gavin does his 175, and hopefully he misses. The problem with this? Ben has a lower lot number than Gavin. Let me explain.
If you don't know what lot number is, it's a random number assigned to every lifter at the start of the competition. One of the primary purposes of lot number is to determine who goes first if 2 lifters attempt at the same weight. The lower lot number must always go before the higher lot number.
So why does this matter here?
Because if the bar is loaded for Gavin at 175 for his third attempt and he attempts it, specifically because he has a higher lot number than Ben, Ben then can't lower it to 175 from his 177.5. Why? Because a lower lot number can't do the same weight after a higher lot number. Ben has a lower lot number than Gavin and thus can't change to the same load after Gavin does his attempt. If they load the bar for Gavin at 175, the lowest Ben could then do would be 177.5, which is the exact number he was sitting at and uncomfortable with.
This means that Ben would be trapped. If Ben wants to do 175, he needs to lower it before Gavin does his 175.
On top of this, if Ben misses his third deadlift attempt at all, he will automatically lose. After about 5 minutes of trying to convince his high school coaching staff about this, they smartly lower Ben's third attempt to 175 right before they load Gavin's weight. Ben goes on to nail the 175 with barely any room left in the tank, putting him in first place for the time being, in which I got to give him a big hug afterwards. From there, the magic number Gavin now needs to beat Ben is also 175. He goes on to attempt it and barely misses, with Ben taking the Wisconsin High School State Championship. Congrats to both lifters for doing an amazing job. It was an awesome battle, and I hope you learned something from this video.